Hello everybody, it's Rhonda here from Nelson's Soapery. Today we are going to be making some beautiful soap. We're going to be making a foot soap which is nice and fun with some pumice stone in it, and that will give your feet a really nice scrub if you have those troubled feet, which lots of us do. And here is the mold we're going to be using. So these ones you can get from Amazon or many places, and on the inside it looks like that. And then basically what happens is these little bits on top, which are like little nodules, they actually really do help to massage your feet as we're using it. So I'm going to pop the camera around. I'm going to show you all the ingredients we need, and I'm also going to give you the recipe. So just watch throughout the video, and I will give that. Make sure you give me a massive thumbs up if you love the video at the end, because that really does help my channel. And we do have a Patreon account for anyone that wants to go over, join us on Patreon and get lots of the free recipes and so on. But anyway, let's get going with this video. Now let's get started on what we actually need for this particular recipe. So here you can see these are the beautiful molds that I've got. I think I got them from Aussie soap supplies, but you can also get them from Amazon and many soap suppliers in all different countries. So that's what we're going to start with. Then we do have this beautiful butter. Now, I mean, how gorgeous is this butter? This is from Deluxe Shea Butter. It is a certified organic unrefined shea butter. You can also use refined, that's fine, but I just personally really love this particular one, and it's just gorgeous and creamy and lovely. And then the second thing we need is some cocoa butter. So this is some organic cocoa butter. Once again, this is actually from Deluxe Shea. Then we're going to be using, now this is the special ingredients. Let me just pick this one up so I can show you what it is. And here it is. This is actually organic green tea extract, and this is really beautiful for your skin. It will just add that absolutely gorgeous, nourishing kind of feel. Then we do have some coconut oil. So coconut oil, when you're looking at recipes, you make sure that you add into your recipe, it's called the 76 coconut. So if you're using like you know, soap calc or one of those, that's what it is. So it's actually called the 76 coconut oil. So we need that. Of course, we need a fragrance. You could also just use some beautiful peppermint essential oil at 1% if you want to as well in this recipe. I do have my little container here, which is the lye. So that is the lye that's cooled down and so on. So now the reason I've already measured up my butters and my coconut oil is because I need to melt these. So I'm just going to pop these into my melter. So we're going to start with these first of all, like I said. So let's go and just pop it into the melter, and then I'll tell you the ingredients and the weights for these particular ones as well. Now let's start off with the first thing. So we're going to be putting our coconut oil in. So here is 160 grams. So let's just pop that in there. We'll shake it in there. And then next we're going to do the shea butter. So we have 80 grams of shea butter, so let's just pop that in. Usually I don't do it in these containers, as I'm sure you would know, but obviously for this video it just makes it easier. Next we have our cocoa butter. So there is 64 grams of cocoa butter in there. Obviously I have measured everything, so do make sure that you're measuring everything. So now that is the hard oil. So all I'm going to do is literally just switch the button, which you can't see, it's on the bottom, and we're just going to turn that on. This won't take very long at all to melt down. We'll just put on this lid. I know it looks crazy messy, but this is what happens with shea and cocoa and all the oil. So this thing here is only ever used just for butters. I don't use it for anything else. It's a slow cooker or a crock pot, as some other countries call it. So like I said, we'll turn it on. It's just on low, so it's definitely not going to overheat the oils or anything like that. In the meantime, we've already made the lye. The lye has also cooled down, and we want this to cool down in a moment. So we're going to leave that just while we measure up all of the other oils and get everything else ready. So now we are ready to organize our other oils. So on top of here, this is my scale, and then I've just put a little jug on top. Now we're just going to measure out all of our oils. So let's just use some sweet almond oil. So there's just going to be 16 grams of that. So let me just make sure I get this right. And you do want it right. You definitely don't want this to be 5 or 6 or 10 over, because if it's wrong, then you just have too much oil in your recipe and it can make your bar really, really soft as well. So like I said, we've got the sweet almond in there. So now let's just go and get the olive oil. So now I'm using 320 grams of olive oil. So I'm just going to tear out my scale first. And if you don't feel confident in doing this, then you can just pour it into separate containers. But this is generally just what I do. So like I said, what did I say? 320 we want, don't we? I've always got to remind myself when I'm filming, because often that's when I make a mistake, if I'm filming and doing it wrong. So that's why we'll just pour this nice and slow, just to make sure I get it all right. We're almost there. 308, so just a weeny bit more. All right, so 320, so that is right. Now I usually use a standard olive oil. The one I use, I think it's called Carbonell, and it's a Spanish olive oil. You can use a light oil if you want. If you use extra virgin oil, just remember it's going to have a greeny yellowy kind of look to it. So usually I use like the lighter oil, but like I said, we have already added that in, which was 320 grams. So the last thing I'm going to add in is the rice bran oil. So I'll just go and grab that one. We will tear out this scale at the same time. And when I'm actually making these, this is generally what I do. You know, this is my process. I pretty much make the lye and the, and melt the butters down at the same time. Then I just set them aside. And then they're going to cool at around about the same temperature. And then, like I said, I organize all the oils, my containers, everything else, so that I know what I'm, doing. And then once you've done all that, once everything's melted down, it's the right temperature. And basically, you just want it at room temperature, everybody. So I don't honestly measure it. I've made so much soap that I just don't measure it in temperature. Like, obviously, I measure the weights, but the temperature, I don't really check too much. But you just really want it like a room temperature. You know, you don't want it hot, of course, but just generally your room temperature around 23 degrees Celsius is pretty normal. If it's a bit warmer, it's okay as long as it's not hot. But like I said, now we're going to add in the rice bran oil, which is 160 grams. I've torn out my scale as well, so let's just add this in. And rice bran's going to give you a really creamy kind of, it's just a really nice, like I said, a creamy kind of consistency to your soap. So I just had to double check it. I thought, oh, don't let me pour too much in. That'd be a bit tragical, wouldn't it? Then I'd ruin it. All right, so that one is all done. And now if you're going to add color into this, what I always do is take a portion out of the oil and use that to color what you're going to color. So I'm going to show you, because we are going to just color the bottom of these. Actually, oh yeah, we are. We're going to do the top of them. Sorry, the bottom I'm going to leave just natural, but then the top I'm going to do like a pinkish color. So we'll leave the bottom natural, but I'll show you what I'm going to do as well. So we've got our oils in the container here. Now we're going to be adding in the green tea extract, which is just this one here. I'm just going to add a very small amount, which is 5 grams. I have actually put this on top of my oil recipe, but you can take some oil out if you want. This couple grams for this is not going to really matter. It's a little bit different to other oil. It's quite a watery type oil as well, which is quite fine. So like I said, we've got everything in here that we actually need, and actually just to tell you, these are only for myself. We're probably not going to sell these. So now basically what I do with this is, if I'm going to add a color, then I'm going to take a portion of this out for my color, just so that we can mix it in another container, which is exactly what I'm going to do as well. So we'll do that, and then I will show you the other little bits that I add into this one as well. Now we've got our little cup here. I'm just going to reuse one that we had before. We're just going to put a tiny bit of oil in here. It's nothing too exciting. Remember, this oil is going back into the recipe, so that's fine. And you can just see it's just a little bit there. And now we're just going to add a tiny bit of mica, because this is a small recipe, so don't add a lot. Honestly, about quarter of a teaspoon is probably all you need of mica. And like I said, I'm just going to add a pink in, so I'll just go and grab that pink. The pink I am using, it's called Lipstick Pink, and this one is from Sud Off, so it's just a tiny bit at the end of the spoon. It probably looks like more than what it actually is, to be honest. I will close that container up. And then I'm just going to get a kebab stick. This is all I use every time. I just snap them in half so that I don't waste them and use too much. And then basically all I'm going to do is just mix this. This is pretty much it. I might actually bring some of these to my core line, because I'm actually getting some boxes hopefully made up in the new year. So we will just kind of see. But anyway, that is pretty good. I'll mix more of it off away from the camera, because it's a bit hard the way I've got the camera kind of situated in front of me. But yeah, so basically that's it. So we know that that's going to be the top of this. So basically the first bit I'm going to do at the bottom is just going to be white, and then I'm going to add pink into it. And the whitey color, I'm going to keep it white because we are going to be adding in some ground down pumice, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. Now, you don't have to add that into your recipe. That's personally just what I wanted to add into my recipe as well. Now remember, we have our oils in here, so now there's something else I'm going to show you. So inside this little container here, I actually have some sodium lactate. Now sodium lactate is basically a salt. There's many different things that you can use. Stearic acid's another thing you can use, or just some salt, table salt you can also put in here as well, and it's basically going to help it harden from the bar. But the sodium lactate helps it harden, but it also helps it release easier from these kind of molds, and that's what we want. Because if you can see these tiny little nodules on top, now these nodule things here, they're actually quite tricky to get this out, and often I've broken them along my way. So basically once you've made it, I definitely suggest that you don't take it out of here straight away. So I usually leave it in here for a couple days just to make sure it's super hard, because if it's soft, you're going to snap off the ends, and then you've sort of ruined the bar. You can't sell one when bits are broken unless you sell it as a broken type bar. But anyway, like I said, that's what we're going to do. So all we're going to do is just add this straight into the oil. So I'll just pour that into the oil in there, and that's basically it. So it's about 1% of your recipe is the sodium lactate. So now we've got all the oils in. We've done everything else that we need to do except for the fragrance oils. We won't do those to the end. And I am going to do a bit of a mix at the moment of this particular clove and sandalwood. And this is a really beautiful one. I actually did have one of my followers say, oh, you've got to try this. It's gorgeous. And I did make her a body butter in this. So hello to you, lovely, today. And now we're also going to use a tiny bit of this one, Birch and Watermint. This is also from Pure Candles. They're both from Pure Candles. This is so beautiful. It's like a mint, but like almost like a pine foresty mint. It's just very lovely, like really nice. So but I'm just going to add a tiny bit of that in the other one, and make sure you're keeping your fragrance to 5% or under, because you don't want them super strong because it can irritate people as well. And when you do these recipes through Soap Calc, it will actually tell you what the recommended fragrance is, and usually it is much lower than, you know, what any of us would use. Generally I only use about 3%, 2.5 to 3% of fragrance in my recipes, just to give you guys a bit of an idea. So we've done all this, haven't we? We've set everything up. So now we're just going to wait, like I said, for everything to melt down and cool down. And then I'm going to bring you back and I'll show you the last bit, which of course is making the soap, popping it in the mold and doing that bit as well. Now, before we do that, I better also tell you, I don't know whether I told you the lye recipe, but for the lye recipe of this, so the water content that you're going to need is 232 grams, and then the so that's the water content. 232 grams is the water content. The lye content, which is your sodium hydroxide, that is 108.37 grams. Now, I'm giving it in grams rather than ounces because grams is more precise, it's more exact than ounce. So I definitely suggest that you use grams. I know a lot of American soapers do also use grams because it is much more clearer down to the last point and easier to sort of measure up. But if you're over on Patreon, if you're one of my Patreons, I will actually put this recipe over there for you, and you will actually get like the PDF of the recipe. So you won't need to write any of this down, but if you're on YouTube, just write it down, everybody, and then you can give it a go. Any recipe I give you, I always suggest you pop it through soap calc again. And do remember, because sometimes people say to me, your recipes don't work in soap calc. Now, the reason it may differ for you is I actually change around my lye concentration level. So generally when you go into soap calc, it will give you a 38% percentage of water to oils. But I actually use usually 29 to 31%. That's generally what I use, sometimes 26. And what that is doing is it's helping with a bit of a reduction of water. So that's why I do that. So this one, my water as percentage of oil weight is 29%, if you wanted to know that in this particular recipe. And the hardness of this bar is going to be 37. So for anyone that wants more or less. And of course, this is a vegan recipe as well. There is no animal byproducts at all. There is no palm oil. This is palm free, and that's generally what I've found that people in Australia want. They just don't want animal fats in it, and a lot of them don't want palm oil. So I don't use palm oil at all. My bars are a lot more expensive to make because we do have the organic butters in them as well. And in time to come, I will actually bring out a mature age soap recipe for everyone. So I've been working on one of those, and I will definitely bring that out in a few weeks' time. So hopefully you all enjoy that one. But anyway, like I said, let's just wait until everything's melted down, and then I'll bring you back. We are back, everybody. So let me move that out the way. So inside here, I have already added in all the melted oils that we've already put in there. Remember, that was the coconut oil, of course, that was the shea butter and cocoa. So everything is melted. It's beautiful in here. So you probably can't see it, and I can't move it too much or it will come out. So basically what we want to do now is we want to simply add in our lye, and we're going to blend it all up. Of course, I have my gloves on now because you must wear gloves doing this, and some eyeglasses. So now, like I said, we're just going to literally add everything in here. So I'm just going to take the stick out, throw that away. So this is the lye that I've already mixed. Remember, for anyone that doesn't know, lye is water and sodium hydroxide. So that's literally what it is. And straight away it's going to try and turn into soap. I know it is. So we are going to literally just pop this in here. I'll move this out just for a moment. And we're going to blend it. So of course I have my stick blender to give it a few bursts, and then I will add in the fragrance. So basically all I want to do is I want to just literally blend this together. Then I'm going to tip part of this out into another container so that we can separate it, just to add in for our ground pumice at the top. And it's pretty good now. So let me just undo this. And I'm just going to literally get another container, which is this one here. Let's just put enough so that we can add enough for our pumice at the bottom, maybe just a weeny bit more. And then this other one's going to have the pink in it, but the bottom bit here I want the pumice. So we're going to literally turn these up the right way. Not that I need them right this second. We'll move that out the way, and let's just work on the first bit. Like I said, we want to blend this a bit more. It's not blended enough yet. And then we are also going to add in the fragrance just a little bit, because the rest is going to be reserved for the other bit. So now with my fragrance, let me tell you how much I've got in. I have 28 grams in total. So, and can you see how this fragrance has turned yellow? That happens, and it means this will probably discolor, so I may not add this fragrance into the next one. I'll have to think about that. Which is funny because it's not meant to discolor this one, but you know, sometimes it just happens. But it doesn't matter if it does. It's no big deal to me. So now I'm just going to take the top of the stick blender off. It's just better to be safe than sorry. Now this is the pumice, so it basically is just like, it looks like sand. I got this from N Essentials in Australia, so we're going to add 2 tablespoons in here, or roughly 50 grams. I mean, you can add more if you want it more scratchy. And remember, this is just going to be at the bottom to sort of help, you know, with the feet. And it is a little scratchy, but you know, like honestly, we could probably put a tiny bit more. But you know, put as much or as less as you want, because this is not for the body, this is for the foot. Alright, so I think that's good enough. We don't want to do it too much. I'll take that off there. And like I said, we do have our little containers here. So I'm just going to fill the bottoms up, and then I'm going to tap them because this has got thick pretty fast. Sometimes you'll have a fragrance oil that just does that, and we don't want it to be too thick because basically it won't go in the little hole bits at the bottom. So we do need to definitely give it a tap, and you'll know because you'll start to see the air bubbles. I don't know whether it shows you on camera the air bubbles, but when they come up, it means that literally everything's going into the bottom of the mold, which is good. And if it doesn't, it's no big deal because it's for me. Like I said, it's not for a customer. But now I do know, don't I, that it's actually the sandalwood doing this, because I use the other mint one all the time with no issues at all. So, and I probably have way too much in here, but that's okay. I'll use that for something else. And like I said, let's just use this top one, and we're just going to add the colour in. So hopefully you can still see on screen. And we're just going to add this back into here. And this is why everybody, you know, you usually test the fragrance on soap, and clearly I haven't done it with a sandalwood, but the sandalwood didn't love it, did it? So, but that's okay. These things happen. We might just add the sandalwood in. It doesn't really matter. The colour, I don't really care too much. You know, look, often you get things that when people say soap on a stick, it means literally the fragrance is seized in the mixture, and this is not much different, to be honest. But we will see the end result in a day or two, because I'll bring you back when this has all happened. But you can see how thick it is, really super fast. So we're just going to pop it into these ones here, and so that is about it for these ones, isn't it? So let me just do one of these here. And I do have quite a bit left, actually, so I should have made a smaller batch, but that doesn't matter. So I'm going to just get another mold and add, just pop the rest in a mold. Now this mold here, we'll see if I can move these to show you. It is so one of my favorite ones. I got this from I Dream Cakes. And it's just such a good mold. Now, can I show you something? Look at this. This is what's happened in seconds of us literally doing the first one. So this is the one with the bit of pumice. So I'm just going to add it in. I'll just tap down this mold. We'll just add a bit in each at the bottom. But yeah, this is literally what happens, everybody, when a fragrance doesn't work super duper good. So I will have to put that on my list, because I do have a list that when I start to check out fragrances, I pop all of those into Patreon. So I've done one, but I'm going to continue popping them in so that everyone knows fragrances that work or don't. And generally they're pure candles, because I will use a lot of theirs. And I do test all the fragrances for pure candles in soap. So yeah, so anyway, and look how thick that is. Crazy. So I know that this one is not friendly. As much as it's beautiful, it is not friendly for soap, which is okay. They can't all be good for soap, but it's beautiful in candles. and it's beautiful and lots of other things. So if you get to this, you just got to tap it down to try and get the air bubbles out, and then we will smooth that out later. But as I said, this happens, doesn't it? It's, what can you do? Not much. Especially when I didn't do a small test first. Number one lesson to everyone, including myself, and I never listen to my own advice. I should just do a small 100 gram one or something just to double check it. But like I said, it really doesn't matter. So we're going to, as messy as that looks, I will fix that in a minute. All you need to do is just get a spoon and, you know, fix it up once we tap it all down. You can just, you know, take some from that one and we'll put it in that one there, and I will clean that one up in a moment. And maybe even some customers might get a freebie in some orders when they make orders. Often I do give quite a few freebie things away, and probably in the new year I'm going to give away a few things that I'm not using anymore, or because I've changed my whole idea of, you know, my products around, because I used to just make certain things, but now I want my company or my products to be really clear. So I don't just want to keep adding in, you know, a bit of this and a bit of that. I want it to be more clear on what I'm actually selling. So anyway, in the new year, some people might get some freebies, which is nice for them, isn't it? So like I said, let's just tap this down. And you'll see some air bubbles once you know it's good. And then once we've done that, whatever spoon we're using or not, you can just get the spoon and just, you know, neaten it off a bit. You can get lots of other things. I could have used the spatula, but anyway, it doesn't matter. It's not, like I said, it's not vitally important, is it? But this is a very, very fast one. So if you're new to soap making, definitely don't use this one. You can use this one, everyone. Like, it's fine, but you just have to be fast. And I was doing something where I wasn't really being as fast. But if there's ones that you really love, but you know they're just going to set up fast, it means literally I wouldn't do colors. I'd just pour that one straight into the mold. Anyway, we are done. Let's leave this for a couple days. I will come back and then I will show you the rest. So look how crazy and messy it is, but we've made it look okay. And then here are these beautiful ones. So we're going to test them out when they are all ready, aren't we? So let's get going with the next bit. Hello everybody, it is the next day. So I've already undone one because I wanted to check it before I filmed it, and doesn't it look lovely? So it has definitely come out. You can see the tiny little bubbles. They're little air bubbles because it went thick so far. So obviously we want it more liquidy, but it's looking really pretty, and the little pink will probably come more pink in time. But anyway, that's it for now, but I'm going to undo one to show you. So basically, when you buy these are all attached into a group of 4, and so I cut them. And the reason I cut it is it was really, really hard to actually get them out of the mold. So I'm going to show you what I actually do. So basically, I just pull the sides, both sides, because you want to pull as much as you can. So now, once that's happened, all I'm going to do is literally just roll it over a tiny bit. And hopefully I can show you because I'm behind this camera, which is only like a foot in front of my eyes. Now, if you can see, it's come out super clear, but we want these to come out. So what I usually do is I usually try and pull it, and I'm actually holding the bottom at the same time, because if you don't, sometimes these little nodules will pull off. So don't be too rough trying to pull them off. So pretty much do that. And you can see that I'm just going around it really slowly to pull it off. Now remember that these little nodule things, they will actually, you know, get harder over time, but this is new and we're just trying to get this off, and often this is the bit where you ruin it. You can actually let them sit here longer, or another thing is you can actually pop them in the freezer, which means it will get harder as well, but I just personally don't ever do that. I just be really gentle. But if you had a shop and you're trying to do 200 at once, well, this process would be tricky, wouldn't it? So now you can see that I've got that one out, so that one is also looking beautiful. So I hope you have absolutely loved this video. Make sure you give me a massive big thumbs up, and of course, like I said, I did give you the recipe throughout the video, so if you've got to the end and you've missed bits, just go back on the video. But if you're on Patreon, it will actually be over there, so I will actually write the recipe for you over there. And I hope that you really enjoy using this bar on your feet. Look, you could use it on your body, but because we've added the scratchy bits in, I definitely wouldn't suggest that. It's really for the hard bits on your feet, like the back of your feet and things like that. And it's quite a creamy bar, so that shea butter, cocoa butter will really help. Anyway, like I said, I hope that you love it. Make sure you give me a massive thumbs up, and I will see you all on the next video. Bye for now.